Welcome back to Campfire Whispers, your daily fix of horror stories, unsolved mysteries, and straight-up unbelievable content. My name is Eki, and today I'm sharing a story called The Forgotten Room. It started with a knock. At exactly 3:03 a.m., Claire Thompson was woken by three sharp knocks from somewhere deep in the walls of her apartment. Not on the door, not on the window, inside, behind the plaster. The sound was too rhythmic, too intentional, like someone asking to be let out. Claire lived alone on the top floor of a converted Victorian house in Asheville, a sleepy New England town with a fog like to settle and linger like something alive. The kind of fog that never felt quite natural. She had moved in 2 weeks prior, drawn by the rent and the building's antique charm. Her apartment was tucked beneath steeply pitched eaves, with creaky floors and windows that refused to close all the way. The landlord, Mr. Colby, was a gaunt man in his late 70s with watery eyes and a voice like dry leaves. "Ignore the quirks," he'd said, waving a hand vaguely at the walls. "Old bones, this place. Creaks and groans like me." But this was no groan. The first night, Claire had assumed it was just the house settling, or maybe a raccoon. But it happened again, and again, always at exactly 3:03 a.m. Always three knocks to be why the fourth night. The sound didn't just wake her, it filled her with dread. She lay still in bed, eyes wide, blanket clutched to her chest. It wasn't just the noise, it was the feeling that came with it. Like something just on the other side of the wall was listening. One night, driven by a mixture of fear and frustration, she pressed her ear against the wall after the knocking stopped. The plaster was cold. Her breath hitched. For a split second, she heard breathing, slow and raspy, like someone struggling through smoke. She recoiled and didn't sleep the rest of the night. Claire began to notice other things. Her hallway light flickered even after she changed the bulb. Her bathroom mirror would fog at night, despite no running water. Once, she returned home to find muddy footprints leading from the front door to her bedroom. Small, barefoot, child-sized prints. But the door had remained locked. She asked Mr. Colby if there had ever been renovations or strange issues with her unit. His expression shifted, subtle, but undeniable. He hesitated. "No," he said flatly. "Just drafts. It's an old place." Claire didn't press, but she noted the way his hand trembled as he reached for his keys. The following night, while reviewing some client edits on her laptop, her TV, muted and forgotten in the background, flashed static. Then, for less than a second, an image, a small, dark room with no windows, lit by a single dangling bulb. A child's chair sat in the center. A shadowed figure crouched in the corner, unmoving. Then it was gone. Back to her paused Netflix show, Claire froze. She rewound the footage. Nothing. No static. No image. She tried sleeping with a nightlight, but at 3:03 a.m., the knocking returned, louder this time, closer, and then the faintest whisper, "Hello?" The next day, she met Sandra, her downstairs neighbor. Claire casually asked if she'd ever heard anything strange from the walls. Sandra went pale. Her coffee cup trembled as she set it down. "There used to be a fourth unit," she said softly. "Upstairs, into the hall. But they sealed it. Years ago." "Why?" "There was a boy," Sandra whispered. "Lived there with his mother. No one saw her much, but people heard things. Screaming, crying, and then, one day, nothing. When the landlord finally went in, the place was empty. No furniture, no people, just that little chair, facing the wall." Claire's heart thudded. "What happened to it?" "They bricked it up," Sandra said, her voice barely audible. "It's not supposed to be there anymore." That night, Claire couldn't sleep. She stood in her hallway at 3:02 a.m., flashlight in hand. Her pulse pounded in her ears. When the knocks came, they didn't echo from a direction. They surrounded her. She ran her fingers along the walls, and near the linen closet, she felt it. A breeze. Cool air seeping through a thin crack in the drywall. She pressed her ear against it and heard a hum. Not mechanical, but human. She couldn't ignore it anymore. The next morning, she bought tools. By dusk, she was chipping away at the drywall. Dust filled the air, and her fingers ached, but she kept going. When the wall finally gave way, she found it. A narrow, arched wooden door, its paint long faded, its brass knob tarnished and cold. With a deep breath, she opened it. Inside was a forgotten room, no more than 8 feet across. Stale, freezing air met her like a slap. The wallpaper peeled in thick strips. Deep scratches covered every wall. Words layered over each other again and again. I'm still here. In the center sat the chair. Facing the wall, Claire stepped inside. The door creaked behind her. Her flashlight dimmed, flickering as if the darkness itself was feeding on it. The room felt alive. As she turned to leave, something grabbed her ankle. She yelped, stumbling backward. Nothing was there, just the floor and the chair, now slightly turned toward her. She slammed the door and resealed the wall with furniture. She didn't call anyone. Who would believe her? But the knocks came back, and now they moved from the wall to the ceiling, to directly beneath her bedpoint one night. She woke to find a handprint on her bathroom mirror, too high for her to reach. Then she began sleepwalking till she'd wake standing in front of the sealed wall, hammer in hand, whispering something she couldn't remember. Her phone stopped working. Her laptop refused to connect. The outside world became unreachable, like the house had quietly stepped into another place, just off the edge of reality. And then, on the 7th night, Claire awoke sitting in the chair. The forgotten room was darker now, more suffocating. Across from her, in the corner, crouched the boy, his face pale, expression twisted in a grotesque grin. His eyes, entirely black, gleamed in the dark like wet stones. "You saw me," he whispered. "Now you're part of it." Claire screamed, but the room absorbed sound like a sponge. No echo, no escape. She ran, but every hallway led back to that door. Now, even after moving out, every mirror she passes flashes with that room behind her, just for a moment. Every night at 3:03 a.m., the knocks return. They say the forgotten room moves like a parasite, feeding on attention. And once you open the door, you never really close it. You just take your place in the chair. If you enjoyed this story, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Join me next time for more unbelievable tales on Campfire Whispers.